Yeah, hi. Hi, I'm Don Vosberg. I'm a pre-sales technical specialist for SUSE, and this is...
Pablo Suárez. I'm a software engineer from the SUSE manager team working at SUSE.
So I'm based in Indianapolis, and he is based in
Canary Islands.
the Canary Islands. Okay, so here's the test question for you. What is the official bird of the Canary Islands? Never mind. Okay. All right. So how many of you are currently have Ansible somewhere in your world? Yeah, a lot, right? So people are using Ansible out there. This happens a lot of different ways. Maybe it comes with the subsidiary that you just purchased that has a defined Ansible infrastructure, or maybe somebody went to a webinar and said Ansible is the thing, we got to do it everywhere, and force people to use it. Sorry. So whenever you've done that kind of infrastructure, you know that efforts were already invested in developing that out and building the playbooks that go along with it. So Ansible modules and playbooks are all over the place, right? Yeah. And there's some good and some bad to that. Some of the challenges are Ansible does not really provide any real-time monitoring capability. It doesn't have the really cool event-driven orchestration that all of us who are salty people know about. And thus, because I don't have minions and an already predefined messaging bus, scalability becomes a challenge. So this might be, hopefully it's not you, but it might be your friend who is all Ansible. But now we're going to smile because we actually, with Salt, you have real-time monitoring with beacons, you have event-driven orchestration with reactors, and all the scalability that 0MQ and Syndics, etc., bring to Salt. So, but wait now, we have a problem because perception-wise, everybody is like, well, I already have Ansible, so I certainly can't do Salt. Have you ever heard that excuse voiced? Yeah. Well, we're going to explore that today. So your IT infrastructure is already defined, or a portion of it. It doesn't have to be everything, with Ansible. And those modules and playbooks all over the place now. If I just have to do it starting from scratch, that's a bad answer. So for those of you who have any history with SUSE and our management platform, that is something we truly seek not to do, is to make everyone start all over again from scratch. There are some other colors that don't have that same point of view. So until now, there's been no way of a smooth step-by-step planned migration, only the hard way. But now, don't panic. Right? Do you panic?
No, I'm fine.
So now I'm going to hand it over to Pablo. Do you want this one?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the idea behind this is what would happen if we could consider Ansible, the whole Ansible, as a subset of the functionality that Salt is providing to you. So that's what ansiblegate module is doing. So it's a new module which is including Salt Fluorine version. It's an innovation that's coming from SUSE, and basically it will allow you to execute your Ansible modules using Salt. Not only that, but it will also allow you to run your playbooks using Salt. You can find Salt Fluorine. It's now part of the SLE 15, SLE 15 SP1. It's a base system package, so we maintain Salt in our enterprise distribution, and of course it's also part of the OpenSUSE Leap and Tumbleweed version. You can find our package of Fluorine there at OBS, in this URL over there, which basically is the Fluorine release plus some other patches that we have included there. It's going, I mean, this package went across all our hardening process for stabilizing the package and so on. So that's a place to get.
So does that include other distributions?
Sure, sure. You can find the package also built for Rails, CentOS, and of course, Ubuntu as well, I think. Yeah. Oops. So how does this work? What we normally have, okay, so basically we have here some systems that have been managed or are managed by this Ansible control via SSH. So the first thing that we can do is to put Salt here in the Ansible control node. Just by doing that, we are able already to manage our Ansible from Salt. So operating Ansible using Salt. And not only that, but also execute Salt commands using or reusing the Ansible inventory that we have on this controller. So it will basically allow to run Salt SSH, execute Salt commands there, reusing all the inventory that you already have from Ansible with all your groupings, your system definition, etc. These are some of the examples how you can operate with this. So in a masterless environment, you can simply, let's say we are in a system, in a node that already have Ansible installed, then we can just Ansible list, and it will just list all the modules that are available there from Ansible. We can get the help for each one of those modules, and we can, of course, execute some of those modules and pass in the arguments for the particular module that we are executing. Same in case that we have a master minion cluster, we can just target commands to our Ansible node, like this one, is a system ping from Ansible, or doing, for example, packaging of zipper IOTop state installed. So these are Ansible modules, but we are triggering the execution using Salt. And last but not least, we can run playbooks and tell the Ansible node to apply this particular playbook that we have here. Next step. We have still this part, which is we have those systems that are still managed by Ansible. We still have these SSH connections that are made by Ansible, but we can now place also Salt Minion inside those previously only Ansible managed systems, and then that will allow you really cool stuff. Like, for example, that will enable us real-time monitor and event-driven orchestration, because now we have minions, we have the event bus, and we can define beacons here to trigger events. And then we can react to those events and, for example, trigger execution of Ansible calls or applying playbooks based on the reactions that those for the reaction to those events that happens here on those Ansible managed machine. Basically, we add the whole minion functionality to those Ansible or previously only Ansible managed system, but we keep still those playbooks and we run them because they define our infrastructure so far. This is also an example how I told you that you can reuse the Ansible inventory. So in Ansible, you have this ATC Ansible host where you define your host, you do groups, and this kind of stuff. And if you want to execute some Salt command inside one of those Ansible managed machines, you just need to Salt SSH, you use this -- roster Ansible, you set where the Ansible inventory is. The target, in this case, is all, but we can also use the Ansible grouping, like web servers. And then we can run, these are Salt commands, test ping, service.stop, Apache. Okay, so how to smoothly migrate from Ansible to Salt. Wait, yeah, okay. So this is the initial scenario that we face. So there is this customer that has some infrastructure, and they are just using Ansible. That's it. They run Ansible modules and run playbooks. First thing to do, step 0. We just put Salt in the Ansible controller. That's it. That will enable us to keep doing exactly the same, but now we can also execute Salt command by reusing the Salt inventory. Okay, that's good. I like that. So what we can continue doing is building on top of what we already have. So let's say that now we have a minion, and then I bring up a Salt master here. So I can now schedule in, for example, running a playbook, but I can do it in a salty way. So I can call Salt from the master to tell this Ansible controller to run whatever playbook, and then this is going to be applied in the Ansible way here. And another thing is that you can also run your playbooks as part of SLS file. So you can define, you can have an SLS file, and one of the steps is to run the playbook, whatever playbook. Okay. So yeah, my IT, now I'm building on top of what I already had. Now I start having all other systems that are only Salt managed system, but still I have this previous infrastructure that is managed by Ansible. Now we are starting having some cool features like the event orchestration on a hybrid environment. For example, I can react to events that are produced here, and then I can trigger via reactors the execution of running certain playbooks here on this part of my infrastructure. So it allows you basically to mix both kind of environments and operate them just by using Salt. Okay, I like that because it basically allows me to still doing everything that I was previously doing, plus some extra stuff that Salt is bringing us. And this would be the last step where I put Salt minion on those systems that were previously only managed by Ansible. So still, I have my playbooks here that are applied to those systems, but since I have now the Salt minion here, I can define beacons and react to those beacons in certain conditions and retrigger the execution of the playbook, as we are going to see now in the demo. So as you can see here, the idea is not that we just get rid of the Ansible completely, but that we allow to both environments to coexist. Demo time. Okay, let's try to do that. This is a live demo, so thank you. Okay, I hope. Okay, I hope.
Can you guys see that okay? Mostly, kind of, sort of. Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Can we get the... Yeah, we got somebody working on it. Ooh, don't fall asleep.
Okay, so what I have here is on
Speak into the microphone there, Chief.
Yeah. So what I have here is my Salt master in the left side, where I have the event bus here. I have here an Ansible controller, and I have here an Ansible managed system, CentOS 7. So let's start with listing the modules that Ansible list. Okay, you see, we have here all the modules that are available on this Ansible. We can, for example, go with the help and show the help of the system ping.
Let me just do it like this, it's better. You see it, system pings, module, and then you can see, for example, options. So it will tell you which are the parameters that this module is accepting. And of course, we can just system ping data. What this is going to do is going to tell the Ansible controller to execute the Ansible system ping with this information, and you will get the response from this Ansible module executed. But yeah, using Salt, basically. So next thing, as I was telling you, we can also, well, we can execute some more complex stuff, like for example, packaging OS zipper name iotop state installed. Let's see what happened. Okay, I don't have internet connection, but basically it tells you that it tries to install this iotop. I can set absent and it will tell me, okay, it's already absent. Change fault, it's already absent. Okay. Then I have here in Salt a simple state, ansible.call system ping. And I can Salt Ansible state apply my Ansible state. You have the output from yeah. It seems not too much, but it's too much.
It's okay.
Okay. So that's, as you can see, it's really easy just to operate with Salt and operate the Ansible using Salt, right? Next thing is I have, in this particular case, I have a playbook. Well, let me show you. I have a playbook which is here. It's called, yeah, basically a playbook that ensures that HTTP is installed, and then it basically copies some files that I have here in my controller to this particular system. These are a bunch of HTML pages.
And we're still working off the Ansible controller here, right?
Sorry?
This is the Ansible controller system that you're working from, right?
Yes. Well, this is actually the Ansible controller that is here, actually. And I can tell my controller to Ansible playbook. I think it was like the playbook. This is in root. Apache. So I'm telling from the Salt master to the Ansible controller to run the playbook that is in this particular path. I run that. Let's see. Okay, it's Ansible playbooks. Okay. Let's see how it works. Okay, here we go.
Nice.
So you see the output. You have all the facts from Ansible, and basically it tells you, okay, this playbook has been applied. So if I go to my browser and I go to this URL, I should see this page, which is what I deployed by running the playbook. So let's do now the fancy stuff. So I installed.
So that wasn't fancy enough?
No.
Okay.
Just a little bit. So I have also installed the minion in the Ansible managed system. Let me just start it. We will see, okay, the minion starts. And I defined on my pillar data that all the CentOS 7 has this beacon information. So basically, I'm enabling an notify beacon that monitors BART WHTML. So every time that something changes there is going to be an event fired to the event bus. And I also set a reactor which basically reacts to that event and tells the master to apply this SLF file, which will basically reapply the playbook. Let's just take a look. Reactor. This is the reactor. The reactor is going to trigger an Ansible playbooks to this target, which is the controller, to telling the controller to apply this particular playbook again. What does it mean? We currently have this page, but what would happen if
some rogue administrator
exactly.
deleted the file? Who would do that?
Let's say that we modify one of these files, then we should see some events here on the event bus because the notify beacon is going to trigger that event, and then the reactor is going to trigger the application of the playbook again to restore the files. Let's see how it goes. We have this here. Something changed. Okay, something is going on. Ansible playbooks here. Woo! So this is nice because we keep using the playbooks that we already have for defining an infrastructure, but we have now the power of the event-driven orchestration, the beacons, because we installed also the Salt minion on those machines. And we can do this kind of stuff, which was basically completely impossible if you are using plain Ansible. So yeah, I hope you have now a better idea of what this ansiblegate module is doing and what allows you to do. And yeah, I think that's basically it. Let me just see.
Back to slides.
Back to slides. This one. Well, questions so far?
Thanks.
Some question?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I saw. Oh, get a toy. I saw you when you were running the actual Ansible modules. It was like Ansible.playbooks.packaging. Is that something that's built into Salt? I've never actually seen multiple more than like package.function.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So when you're calling from like Salt star Ansible star, you I saw on one of your slides it was like Ansible.packaging.
Sure.
Something.
Like
what is that mapping to? I've never actually seen that as a loader.
Yeah, because basically this one, packaging or zipper,
yeah,
for
exactly.
example. These are the name of the Ansible modules. So these are not Salt
They're not
modules.
Salt modules.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
Ansible dot and all the rest are the name of the Ansible module that you want to install to basically to execute. So this is why, for example, the ping, what installed is a test ping. Here is ansible.system.ping because the module for the test ping in Ansible is this system ping. Okay.
Is that mapping to like a function in the actual Ansible playbook, or? Sorry, I'm just thinking in terms of Salt what that's.
Yeah, exactly the same. So, for example, in the playbook that I just executed, let me just quickly open it. Is here. Okay, you see it. Oops. Well, I don't have. I have this jam name state is similar that the one for the zipper. Let's say like that.
Does that help? Okay, great. Next.
Yeah, just to add on this, I mean, basically, Salt allows this magic everywhere. You could basically write Salt modules that dynamically call a REST API and auto detect what the next namespaces are, and that's what we're doing here. Basically, the Ansible integration can inspect Ansible and figure out what the namespaces are that I can use, and then I can use them in the dotted not annotation.
Yeah, catch up with Pablo after. Good question.
Oh, thanks.
A couple quick questions. So, because the module discovery is dynamic, that means that it would work depending on what modules are available on the target.
On the controller.
What Ansible modules are okay. And then the second is, could you show the the SLS file that is running the playbook, please?
Sure. Is this one? It's a reactor, actually. Well, this is a reactor, which is kind of a different SLS, right? But if the one that I just applied is this one, my Ansible state, then the name of the state, ansible.call, and then you put the module that you want to execute. Or there is also this one, Ansible playbooks. So you can also use Ansible playbook from within an SLS file and then triggering the playbook execution. Yeah. There is another one over there.
So if when you call the Ansible playbook, if the playbook fails somehow, does that fail the state, and would you be able to react based on that, or?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. But that will be the idea. So we get the results from the execution. You see there, okay, there were not failures here, right? So I think, if I'm not wrong, the idea is that when we call it as part of a state, the success of the state is depending on the actual response from Ansible. If the Ansible playbook application failed, then your state is going to fail.
Good.
In this example, it's a CentOS system, and our company does a lot of network devices being managed with Ansible. Does it work in a similar way?
Sure, because what we are doing here is basically operating the Salt controller with Salt. Yeah, the Ansible controller with Salt. So in your Ansible controller, maybe your Ansible managed system are network devices or wherever, and you are already managing them with Ansible. And this is just about, okay, now is Salt the one that operates Ansible, not yourself, basically. So it doesn't matter, actually. The connection between the controller to those end nodes from Ansible are still being SSH, and it's Ansible the one that is playing that part. But it's Salt the one that tells Ansible to, okay, now run the playbook. Okay.
So we have a setup where we're doing OpenShift, and so that version 3 is installed through Ansible, and I actually set it up with Salt, and then we just run it manually. So what is going to be the advantage? So this, the master's out there, and then the Ansible controller is just running on a minion to then go orchestrate the installation of OpenShift or updates or whatever. Mm-hmm. What is the advantage of using this, like the local Salt, to run the Ansible over just doing other than command.run you shouldn't use? But what features do you get out of using the Ansible built in versus command? Besides the obvious, you shouldn't use it if you can, unless that's it. I'm just wondering, do you get other feedback or whatever that is valuable from using what you've built versus command.run?
Yeah, well, the idea is that, of course, you can do cmd.run and just call Ansible.
There's no best practices to not if you don't have to.
Yeah. So, but if you do that, for example, I'm not really sure, because you run cmd run and you execute the Ansible, and the Ansible execute, but you don't get the response that you get is always true, in the sense that, okay, the command was executed, but you don't know if the playbook failed or not. And then that's the idea. That's the idea. Because the idea is that you can integrate that running the playbook with all your different stuff that you are doing with Salt. Yeah. It's okay. Then, Good.
Do you by chance have this demo available anywhere on your GitHub or anything?
No, but we can make it available. So, yeah. And just before you, well, there is any other question or something?
Questions?
Okay, so just give me 1 minute. I have something else for you.
Something special.
Yeah. Where is that? Demo questions? Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Just 1 minute. This is something that we also want to let you know. There is going to be some demo there in the SUSE booth or maybe during the Salt sprint. This is also a new tool that we are developing at the moment, and it's basically a way to install Linux, not only installed Linux, but a new type of installer for Linux system, like for example AutoJazz at SUSE or Kickstart in the real world, where you basically define. The idea is that you can run parallel installation via network on different nodes with different hardwares and so on. So you basically have a file where you define, okay, I want this system with these partitions. You define the entire profile of the system. I want those packages to be installed, these users to be created, and so on. And there are a collection of salt states that will basically allows you to provision those machines from scratch. Do the installation of the operating system, do the partitioning, do everything, all using Salt. And if you want to learn more about Yummy, there is this repo, and there is going to be some demos on the SUSE booth or this afternoon during the Salt Spring. So please reach us and we can show you more. Okay, and that's all we have for you today. Thank you very much.